The day after the Super Bowl, a drunk guy tried to return a TV full of beer. The automatic doors slid open with a pneumatic hiss that sounded suspiciously like a heavy sigh, admitting a blast of freezing February air and a man who looked like he had been chewed up and spit out by a buffalo. I stood at the command podium in the center of the sales floor, gripping my tablet, watching the inevitable parade of shame begin. It was Monday, February 9th. In the world of big-box retail electronics, we don't call this Monday. We call it the Great Return. It is the day after the Super Bowl, the single busiest day of the year for people dragging in massive, open-box televisions they didn't like after miraculously using them for exactly 4 hours the night before. I watched the guy struggle through the vestibule. He was dragging a box that was almost as tall as he was. It was an 85-inch Sony OLED. The box was battered. The cardboard flaps were untucked, flapping loosely like broken wings. The guy dragging it, let's call him Brad, was wearing a jersey that had definitely seen better days. It was stained with something dark near the collar, and he was wearing sunglasses indoors. At 10 a.m. On a cloudy Monday. "Here we go," I whispered to myself, tapping my headset. "Sarah, you got a live one at the customer service desk. 85-incher coming in hot. I'm on my way for backup." "Copy that, Jake," Sarah's voice crackled in my ear, sounding tense. Sarah was new. She didn't have the callous shell that 10 years of retail builds around your soul. She still believed people were generally good. She was about to learn. I walked toward the front of the store, my keys jingling on my belt loop. The store smelled of ozone and floor wax, but as I got closer to the service desk, a new scent cut through the sterile air. It was a thick, sour smell. It smelled like stale light beer, congealed grease, and the distinct, vinegar-heavy tang of Frank's Red Hot sauce. Brad had heaved the massive box onto the counter. He was leaning against it, breathing heavily. He looked sweaty. His skin had that gray, clammy sheen that screams, "Worst hangover of my life." "Can I help you, sir?" Sarah asked, her hands hovering over her keyboard. "Yeah," Brad grunted. His voice was thick, gravelly. "I need to return this. Bought it Saturday. Doesn't work for my space. The color is off. Too much red." "Too much red," I repeated, stepping up beside Sarah. I crossed my arms. "That's a top-of-the-line OLED, sir. It has the best color accuracy on the market. Did you try adjusting the settings?" Brad turned his head to look at me. He didn't take off his sunglasses. "I don't mess with settings, bro. I'm a plug-and-play guy. It didn't look right. I want my money back. Receipt is in the box." "Okay," I said, keeping my voice level. Standard policy for open box returns on large panels requires a physical inspection before we can process the refund. We have to make sure all the accessories are there and the screen isn't damaged. Brad shifted his weight. He looked nervous. He looked like a kid trying to hide a report card. "It's fine. It's brand new. I barely took it out of the plastic. Just run the card, man. I'm in a rush. I have a meeting." "It'll just take a second," I said. I reached for the box flaps. The cardboard was soft. Damp. I frowned. I touched the bottom corner of the box. It was wet. Not water wet. Sticky wet. I pulled the flaps open. The smell exploded outward. It wasn't just a scent anymore, it was a physical presence. It rolled over the counter, assaulting Sarah and me with the concentrated essence of a frat house basement on a Sunday morning. I looked inside. The TV wasn't in the styrofoam blocks. It was shoved in haphazardly, wrapped in a thin protective foam sheet, but the sheet was ripped. And lying right on top of the screen, wedged between the glass and the cardboard, was the remote control. It was caked in orange sludge. "Sir," I said, pointing into the box. Is that wing sauce? Brad sniffed, wiping his nose with the back of his hand. What? No. Maybe. Look, I was eating a snack while I set it up. Maybe I dropped a piece. It wipes off. It's plastic. And the smell? I asked. The box is soaking wet at the bottom. It smells like a brewery in there. I spilled a beer. Brad shouted, his temper flaring instantly. The aggression was sudden, disproportionate. So what? It didn't hit the electronics. It hit the box. Are you selling the box or the TV? Just wipe it down and put it back on the shelf. I paid $3,000 for that thing, and I want my money. I looked at Sarah. She had stepped back, her hand covering her nose. She looked nauseous. Sarah, I said calmly. Go get Mike from loss prevention. Tell him to come up here. I don't need security. Brad yelled, slamming his hand on the counter. The impact made the massive TV rattle inside the box. I need customer service. You're treating me like a criminal because I spilled a Bud Light. This is unbelievable. I review things online, you know. I have followers. I'm sure you do, I said. I reached into the box. I needed to see the screen. If the liquid had gotten into the bezel, the panel was dead. Electronics and liquid don't mix, and beer is corrosive as hell when it dries on circuit boards. I grabbed the edge of the TV and pulled it forward slightly to inspect the glass. My hand came away sticky. Dark, amber liquid was dripping from the bottom vents of the television chassis. Sir, I said, holding up my hand, showing him the brown sludge on my fingers. This isn't just a spill on the box. The unit is saturated. The liquid indicators are going to be tripped. This TV is full of beer. Brad stared at my hand. He swayed slightly on his feet. He gripped the counter to steady himself. It works fine, he slurred. The mask was slipping. The articulate anger was dissolving into drunken sloppiness. I watched the whole game. It worked fine. I didn't like the color. Give me my refund. I can't do that, I said. What did you say? I said no. I locked eyes with him. This isn't a return. This is damaged goods. We don't accept returns on items that have been abused, and we certainly don't accept returns on items that have been used as a coaster for a keg stand. This TV is totaled. You have to take it. Brad screamed. It's the return window. I have 14 days. It's the law. It's store policy, I corrected him. And the policy excludes damage caused by the customer. You filled a $3,000 electronic device with beer and buffalo sauce. We are not a rental service for your Super Bowl party, and we are not a trash can for your mistakes. Brad's face turned a violent shade of purple. The veins in his neck bulged. He looked at the TV. He looked at me. He looked at the exit doors. You're trying to rip me off, he hissed. You're trying to keep my money and the TV. That's theft. You can take the TV, I said, sliding the box back toward him. It's yours. You bought it. You broke it. You own it. Congratulations on the new paperweight. Brad didn't move to take the box. He stared at it with a look of pure hatred. He realized he was trapped. He realized he had blown $3,000 on a night of partying and he wasn't getting it back. Then, a flicker of something dangerous crossed his eyes. A logic that only makes sense to a drunk, desperate mind. It was damaged in transit, he whispered. What? If it breaks in the store, he said, a crooked grin spreading across his face, or if it falls off the counter, then it's your fault. Liability. Insurance. He lunged. Brad didn't just push the box. He threw his entire body weight into it. He lowered his shoulder like a linebacker hitting a tackling dummy and drove himself into the cardboard flank of the Sony box. "Oops," he yelled, the word dripping with malicious sarcasm. "It's falling." Time seemed to slow down. I reached out, my fingers brushing the corner of the box, but it was too heavy. 85 inches of glass and metal, combined with the momentum of a 200-pound drunk, creates a lot of kinetic energy. The box tipped. It slid off the high counter. It rotated in the air. Crash. The sound was hideous. It was the sound of $3,000 turning into garbage. The crunch of the frame hitting the linoleum floor was followed immediately by the sickening, distinct pop hiss of the vacuum seal on the OLED panel shattering. The box crumpled. Liquid, more beer, dark and foamy, leaked out from the bottom corner, pooling rapidly on the white floor tiles. Silence fell over the front lanes. Cashiers stopped scanning. Customers froze. Brad stood there, panting, his hands still extended. He looked at the wreckage. Then he looked at me. "Look what you did," he screamed, pointing a shaking finger at my chest. "You dropped it. You pushed it. I want to speak to corporate. I want a full refund and damages for my emotional distress." I stared at him. I felt the heat rising in my neck, a prickly, burning sensation that started at my collarbone and wrapped around my skull. He was actually trying it. He was committing fraud in broad daylight, surrounded by witnesses, while smelling like a distillery. "I didn't touch it, Brad," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "And you know I didn't." "It's your word against mine," he shouted, stepping back, looking for an audience. He attacked me. He threw my TV on the ground. Actually, a deep voice rumbled from behind him. "It's your word against the 4K dome camera directly above your head." Brad spun around. Big Mike was there. Mike is our loss prevention lead. He's 6'5", built like a vending machine, and has zero patience for nonsense. He was standing with his arms crossed, blocking the exit path. "I saw the whole thing on the monitor in the back," Mike said. "You tackled the box, buddy. That's destruction of property. Attempted fraud. And disorderly conduct." Brad's bravado faltered. He looked at Mike. He looked at the door. He realized he wasn't going to bully his way out of this. "It slipped," Brad muttered, backing up until he hit the counter. "I tripped. The floor is slippery." "The floor is dry," Mike said, stepping closer. "Or it was, until you spilled your beer TV all over it. You need to leave. Now. And take your trash with you." "I'm not taking that," Brad yelled, looking at the leaking box. "It's broken. I'm not putting that in my car. It'll ruin the upholstery." "Your car," I repeated. I looked out the automatic doors. Through the glass, I could see the parking lot. A massive, black SUV was parked diagonally across two handicap spots right in front of the entrance. The engine was running. I could see the exhaust puffing in the cold air. "You drove here?" I asked. "Yeah, I drove here." Brad snapped. "So what?" "I'm leaving. I'm calling my lawyer. You'll be hearing from me." He turned to run. He tried to brush past Mike. Mike didn't grab him. He didn't have to. Brad, in his haste and intoxication, caught his foot on the edge of the rubber floor mat. He went down. Hard. He sprawled onto the floor, sliding slightly in the puddle of beer leaking from his own TV. "Ow," he moaned, rolling over. "My back. I'm suing. I'm suing everyone." He struggled to get up. He stumbled. He fell back against the counter. That's when the smell hit Mike. Mike sniffed the air. He looked at me. "Jake, call the police." "Already dialing," I said, my phone to my ear. "Why?" Brad shrieked, clawing his way upright. I'm the victim. I slipped on your wet floor. You're drunk, Mike stated flatly. You are visibly intoxicated. You just destroyed store property, tried to defraud us, and now you are attempting to operate a motor vehicle. I am detaining you for trespassing and public intoxication until the officers arrive. You can't detain me. Brad lunged at Mike. It was a sloppy, flailing swing. Mike caught his arm. He didn't strike back. He just utilized a control hold, spinning Brad around and pressing him firmly against the customer service counter. Stop fighting, Mike said gently. Don't add assault to the list. Brad thrashed. Let me go. I have to go. My wife is gonna kill me. 911, I said into the phone. I have a belligerent, intoxicated customer at the Best Buy on Route 9. He has destroyed merchandise and attempted to assault a staff member. He is currently detained by security. Yes. He drove here. His car is running in the fire lane. We waited. It took 5 minutes for the police to arrive. Those 5 minutes were filled with Brad screaming obscenities, crying about his credit card bill, and vomiting slightly onto the floor next to the TV. Officer Miller walked in. He looked at Brad, pinned against the counter. He looked at the smashed TV oozing brown liquid. He looked at me. Rough morning? Miller asked. Super Bowl hangover, I said. Miller walked up to Brad. Sir, I need you to stand up and place your hands behind your back. Mike let him go. Brad stood up, swaying violently. I didn't do anything. Brad slurred. They broke my TV. Sir, turn around, Miller ordered. He cuffed him. I'm going to conduct a field sobriety test, Miller said. But honestly, I can smell you from here. Have you been drinking this morning? No. Brad lied. I had a few last night. It's residual. Last night ended 12 hours ago, Miller noted. You shouldn't still smell like a brewery. Let's go out to the car. Miller marched him out. Another officer arrived to deal with the SUV. We watched through the window. They did the breathalyzer right there on the sidewalk. I saw Miller look at the device. I saw him shake his head. He put Brad in the back of the cruiser. The SUV was towed. I walked back to the counter. Sarah was mopping up the beer. What do we do with this? She asked, gesturing to the shattered 85-inch monolith. Mark it as customer damage, I said. Keep it for evidence until the court case is over. Then recycle it. I looked at the receipt Brad had left on the counter. Total, $3,200. Payment method, credit card. He's going to do a chargeback, I realized. He's going to call his bank and say we refused the return. Let him, Mike said, walking back in, dusting off his hands. We have the video. We have the police report. We have the breathalyzer results. If he tries to charge back, we send the file to the bank. That's wire fraud. I picked up the receipt. I stapled it to the incident report form. Later that day, I checked the store email. A message from corporate legal. Subject, incident number 4992, customer Brad, last name. We have been notified of the arrest. We are issuing a permanent ban order for this customer across all locations. We will also be pursuing civil restitution for the damaged unit and the cleaning fees. I printed the ban notice. I taped it under the counter. Brad's face, captured from the security feed, sunglasses, sweat, and rage, stared back at me. The rest of the day was quiet. A few people returned sound bars. A few people returned cables. But nobody else tried to return a TV filled with wing sauce. I went home at 6 p.m. I sat on my couch. I turned on my own TV, a modest 55-inch that I bought with my employee discount years ago. I watched the news. There was a segment on the local channel. Super Bowl shenanigans, local man arrested at electronics store for DUI and vandalism. They showed the mugshot. Brad didn't have his sunglasses on. His eyes were red, puffy, and full of regret. Police say the suspect drove to the store with a blood alcohol level of 0.18, more than twice the legal limit, the anchor said. He is facing charges of DUI, criminal mischief, and attempted theft. I took a sip of my water. Brad wanted a free rental. He wanted to game the system. He wanted to live like a king for a weekend and let us foot the bill. Instead, he bought a broken TV, a towed car, and a criminal record. And the worst part for him? He missed the highlight reel. So, tell me. Am I the monster for refusing the return and letting him get arrested, or did he just intercept his own life?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.